All right. Hello, students. Thank you for joining on my live stream today. And what I wanted to go over today was a couple of tips on how it is that you can get ready for AP Calc AB this year. My name is Mr. Rich, and I'm a high school math teacher in Jacksonville, Florida, and I teach AP Stats and AP Calc AB and BC. And I wanted to talk to you about how to get ready for success this year if you are taking AP Calc AB. So I'm going to go over a few things here. It won't take long, probably about a half hour. We can get through all of this. And this actually is going to be my first live stream that I do on AP Calc AB for the summer. And I've got about 5 more planned over the summer where I'm going to dive into some of the things that I'm talking to you tonight about as the overall tips on how to get ready. And I'll address each of those in more detail in later live streams. So let me pull up some slides here and we will get into it. If you're watching this on the replay, if you have any comments or any questions, go ahead and post those in the chat or comments. I guess I would say in the YouTube comment section for this video. So let's get right to it. All right, so this is it. So we're talking about my top 5 tips to get ready for success in AP Calc AB. And the first thing that I wanted to really ask you and for you to consider is really, are you serious about being successful in AP Calculus this year? And AP Calculus is it's a rigorous class. It's a class unlike that you've ever had before in mathematics. As I tell a lot of my students, as you progress through mathematics, as you go from algebra 1, maybe into geometry, then algebra 2, and then pre-calculus, you notice that you are kind of learning some of the similar topics, but a little bit more in depth as you go through those progressions. You do learn, if you take pre-calculus here in Florida, most students will take pre-calculus before they advance into AP Calculus AB. And you do learn some different concepts there, especially in the realm of trigonometry, where we teach you how to work with trigonometric identities and solving trigonometric equations. But for the most part, you're still using a lot of the algebraic concepts that you've learned along the way in your algebra 1 and algebra 2 progression. But when you get into AP Calc AB, it really is a different animal. It's a different realm of mathematics, as I like to say. You're going to be learning things at a whole new level. And I want to tell you that, AP Calculus AB has a chance to actually change your life, right? If you're planning on going into a STEM field, my field was engineering. I learned calculus not until I went into college. Didn't have a chance to take it in high school, but it was something that I actually needed so that I could learn my discipline of electrical engineering. If I was going to be doing circuit analysis and understanding how circuits work and how different components react within a circuit, I needed to know calculus. I needed to know differential calculus and integral calculus. It was a must. And if you're going to go into a STEM field, calculus is essential. It's going to be really the language that you're going to use in a lot of your understanding of the scientific and engineering principles that you're going to learn. And so if you do very well in AP Calculus and you really grasp it and you understand it at a deep level, you're going to feel very confident going into a STEM field. So it can really broaden your mathematical horizons and open opportunities for you. So it is something that you want to prepare for, right? If you really are looking at a STEM field, you definitely want to get ready for AP Calculus AB this summer by you don't have to do a whole lot of work, but you want to at least find out what some of the gaps might be in your understanding from your previous math classes that could affect your ability to learn things at a very deep level in your AP Calculus AB class. So I hope that you are dedicated to actually doing well in the class, and that you would want to prepare for it. So that's kind of my first my first tip. Now let's move to the next slide. So really the first tip that I have for you is if you're going to get ready for AP Calc, you really do want to do a pretest and try to find some gaps, as I had mentioned earlier, in your previous math understanding. And in the description of this video in YouTube, you'll see that I posted 3 links down there for you to use that you could download. There's 2 pretests. One of them is actually 2 files because the solution set or answer key is a separate PDF file. But you would want to download one of those pretests and take it with, I believe they're both no calculator. I don't remember now offhand, but you want to take those with no outside help and get a measure of what things you do and don't understand that are kind of prerequisites for going into AP Calculus. And some of the main themes there, like I said, I'm going to be touching on those in future live streams. So that would be definitely something that you want to take advantage of. And then once you understand where those gaps are in your understanding from your prior math knowledge, then you can try to fill those in with maybe going back to some of the notes and homeworks that you have from your previous classes, or you can do some research on the internet and look at some YouTube videos and fill those gaps in. All right, let's go to the next one. So a couple of things that you might want to review in particular. At least in our school district, most of the pre-calculus classes are supposed to have covered the concept of limits, and they usually do it at the end of the school year, towards the end of the curriculum. And that's really where you're going to be starting your calculus journey. Your first topic is going to be covering limits. You'll probably spend 2 to 3 weeks in depth learning what limits are and how limits are used to define what we call a derivative of a function in calculus. So if your class covered limits, that'd be something that you want to go back and look at and make sure you kind of understand what limits are. So you want to have an idea of what is a limit and how it connects to function notation, because you've used function notation throughout your whole math career, really since Algebra 1 probably. You learned function notation. Well, limits tell us something else about functions other than just what a value is at a particular x value. So you want to go back and understand what a limit is and how to evaluate them. So you could go back and review what a limit is and what it tells you about a function, but also you want to go back and review how to evaluate a limit. And you need to do that in 2 ways, right? You learned how to evaluate limits analytically from just an algebra equation that represents the function. And you probably also learned how to do it if all you had was a graph of the function. So I review those things in particular. And that'll give you a head start anyways in your AP Calculus class. The next tip that I have is know your unit circle. In our district, and most of the students that I've worked at in different school districts in pre-calculus, students are expected to have memorized the unit circle so that you know all of the angles in both degrees and radians, and you know the ordered pairs that represent the sine, cosine of each of those angles. And when I say know the unit circle, I don't mean just to know and have memorized it. I mean to understand it and how, number one, it relates to the sine and cosine functions themselves. And also, it's a good idea to review a little bit of geometry, and that is that these angles that we're using in the unit circle, these standard angles, really come from what you learned back in geometry for your special right triangles, your 45, 45, 90, and 30, 60, 90. And I am going to do one complete live stream just on the unit circle and how it ties back into geometry. And I think that'll help you too going into calculus. You are expected in AP Calculus to know the unit circle. Most of the time you can get by maybe with just knowing the first quadrant, but if you're going to put forth the effort, learn and understand and love the unit circle. All right, so that's one tip that I have for you there. And also notice down here I said know your basic trig identities. From pre-calculus, you used quite a few trig identities, and I'll say in AP Calc, we don't use as many of the trig identities as you probably learned in pre-calculus, but you need to know your Pythagorean identities. You need to know the ratios for tangent and cotangent. Those are the main ones, and you'll use those quite a bit. So that's part of your success, is you have to be able to work with trig functions and know the unit circle. Okay, if you have any questions here while I'm going through this, feel free to chime in. Hey, Tyler, good to see you tonight. Glad you're here. And let's go to the next tip that I had. Tip number 4 is know the characteristics of polynomials and rational functions, right? So you definitely need to come into AP Calculus knowing how to identify characteristics of your polynomial functions. For instance, you need to be able to find roots of polynomial functions. You have to be able to identify end behaviors of a polynomial function. You have to be able to factor. You have to be able to know all the ways that you could possibly factor different polynomials. The remainder theorem is something to know as well, and multiplicity of factors. Basically, when you're in AP Calculus, you're going to be working with functions, and the more that you can look at a function without a graph and be able to come up with its characteristics so that you could at least sketch or visualize what that function might be doing, the better off you're going to be in AP Calculus for sure. So that is one thing. If we talk about rational functions, you need to be able to, with a rational function, to determine if it has any vertical or horizontal asymptotes, if it's got any slant asymptotes, and then how to find those asymptotes. You need to understand the difference between when a rational function has holes present or vertical asymptotes, be able to find the x and y intercepts, to be able to characterize the domain and range of rational functions. And also, you have to be able to add, subtract, multiply, divide rational functions. All right, so I'm going to devote a complete live stream to reviewing that idea and the concepts that you need for rational functions as well. And that's mostly I'm going to say an Algebra 2 idea, though I think some of that is covered in pre-calculus. Okay, tip number 5, know your technology resources. You'll obviously need a graphing calculator. If you've taken pre-calculus, you were using a graphing calculator. At our school, we use TI-84s. Some other schools with students that I work with use the TI Inspire. I worked with one student who his school is using the TI-89, okay, which is vastly different from the TI-84 and much more powerful. But I'm a big advocate for the TI-84 for its simplicity, and but I'm sure the TI Inspire is a great one too, although I haven't put enough time in to really learn how to use that calculator yet. I would also recommend that you become familiar over the summer with Desmos if you have not used that before. What I want to do here, class, is I think I'm going to share my screen and show you Desmos. So let me get that set up here. And it's just one of the tools that you want to use as you're trying to make sense out of functions and especially limits, right, when you first start working with limits. I think I can set this up and share this. Let's try it. Let's see, there we go. All right, so this is Desmos. If you haven't used this before, it's basically a graphing calculator. You can put a function in over here. It can be explicit or implicit functions, unlike the TI-84, which you have to have the y isolated in the equation editor if you're going to graph it. But This is what you do, right? You can put in here, I put in a rational function here, and I can move this around and with my thumb wheel or my finger wheel with my mouse, I can zoom in and zoom out. I can see here that there's a vertical asymptote. It looks like at -1. Looks like there's another one over here at x equals 6. There's also, looks like, going to be a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. And so, and also, I can see that I have an x-intercept at -5. And this is just something, Desmos is something that's going to just help you make sense out of functions. Okay, so it is definitely a tool to use. Most teachers, I'll say, when they're trying to demonstrate things graphically in AP Calc, they'll use Desmos or something similar, or maybe they'll just use the TI-84 that's displayed to the class. I like to use both TI-84 to show students how to use them, but then Desmos is a little bit more powerful as a teaching tool when we are looking at functions. All right, so that is Desmos. Now, the other one that I had recommended here on my list is Wolfram Alpha. I want to show Wolfram Alpha to you as well. So let me share that, which is a website. Let's see if we can make this happen here. I think we can do it. There we go. All right, so you can see Wolfram Alpha up here. Now, what is Wolfram Alpha? This is a program, probably like some others that you've used, that you can put in an equation. It'll solve equations, but it does calculus. Okay, so I can tell Wolfram Alpha to take. I can actually use English words here. Take the derivative of x squared minus 7x. Okay, and it interprets that. This may not mean much to you now when you're looking at this ddx of x squared minus 7x, but that's how we would indicate taking a derivative with respect to x, and that is 2x minus 7. So it does that sort of thing for you. Now, it does provide step-by-step solutions. Now, if I click on this here, it's going to ask me for some money, right? I'm going to have to buy the version of it. But what I do, if I'm going to use Wolfram Alpha for a solution, I buy it. I have bought it for my iPad and my iPhone. I think I paid $4 or $5 for the app on my iPhone, and then I can use it there, and it'll display then solutions for me if I need to. So it's going to be something that as you're doing homework and you get stuck and you want maybe some help on step by step on how to solve a problem, this would be a good tool, and I use it quite a bit. If I'm checking answers and something doesn't look quite right, I'll pull up Wolfram Alpha. Now, the other tool, like I mentioned, is the TI-84 sum graphing calculator. Here is the TI-84 that I use and my students use in our class. And you want to be familiar with using the equation editor, and where you put in a function here, and then you can set up a window in terms of how far left and right you want to go on the x-axis and how far you want to display up and down on the y-axis, and then it'll display the function for you. It also has a lot of features on what you can do in terms of once you've graphed it, if you need to find zeros or relative mins or maximums, all of that. So this will be definitely a tool that you'll be using quite a bit in your class, and your teacher will help you learn how to use this to solve calculus problems. So that is, I just wanted to show that to you. All right, and then I wanted to mention one other thing. If you've taken, usually by the time students take AP Calc, they've taken other AP classes, so you're familiar with AP Classroom. And I can't speak highly enough about the daily videos that are used in AP Calculus that are produced by actual AP Calculus teachers around the country. I don't know if they're going to be redoing those videos every year or if they're going to use the same ones from last year, but I just know that the ones that they produced for last year were really high quality. They're usually short 5 to 10-minute videos on a particular topic, and they're just awesome, right? Your teacher hopefully will release those to you within your AP classroom so you can take advantage of those and watch those. I would say you want to watch those every single week. You want to be watching all of the AP classroom videos to supplement what you're learning in your classroom. Um, the teachers are some of the best teachers throughout the country, the most seasoned ones, and they just know how to explain things very succinctly and clearly and use some examples. So you definitely want to try that. Also, I would recommend finding some YouTube channels of teachers that have produced content on AP Calculus and use those to supplement your learning, right? It's going to be a good idea for you to be learning from multiple sources, right? Your objective here is not just to learn enough to pass a test. You really want to understand the calculus ideas as you're moving through the classroom. They are all going to be building upon each other as you go through the class. And I'll talk more about this in future live streams this summer as we get into some of the prerequisite topics. But you don't want to be leaving any gaps as you go, right? You want to be learning. Some things will be challenging. You may not feel like you've mastered everything in one particular topic when it's time to go to the next one. But trust me, because as things build on themselves, if you're really diligent in your studies, what didn't make sense 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks down the road, it's going to become clear as you're kind of building your repertoire of skills in calculus. But my main point there is use multiple resources. Okay, starting with the daily videos. Okay, now, so these are the dates that I'm planning on doing my future live streams, and all of these are slated for an 8 p.m. Eastern start time. I'm going to on June 26th, which will be 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be doing my unit circle and trig review. I'll be giving examples of those. Also, then on July 10th, we'll probably skip, I think, the July 4th weekend. It's my plan there. And I'll do a complete live stream on all things about rational functions that you want to be knowledgeable on as you move into AP Calculus. Then on 7/17, I'll do a technology overview and show you some things maybe in AP Classroom. I'll also show you some things on the TI-84 on how to do some graphing and finding features of functions using a graph on the TI-84. I'll probably show you some things as well on Desmos and show you how to do that and use Desmos. And then on the 24th of July, I will do a unit on polynomials. I think there will be another one that I'm going to do on logs and exponentials. I have found that maybe that's one of the main topics from algebra that students struggle with the most in AP Calculus is how to work with logs and exponentials. So not a bad idea to brush up on that. And I'll include that, I think, in my live streams leading up to the start of the school year. And I think that is about it, class. So just kind of to recap, going back to our slides here, what were our 5 tips? Let me go back and quickly go through those. Right? Don't forget to do the pretest. Right? I've got a pretest and the answers in the description of the YouTube of this particular video. So be sure to watch those, or not watch those, but to actually open those up, download them, take those pre-tests to find any gaps that you have. Review limits from your pre-calculus class. Get to be more familiar with the unit circle. Be sure that you know how to identify characteristics of polynomials and rational functions. Those are going to be really important in AP Calculus. And get to be familiar with the TI-84, Desmos, Wolfram Alpha, and there's probably some other ones that you've used throughout your math career up to this point. And then be ready to use the AP Classroom. All right, class, that's going to do it for now, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. And I will go into more on the unit circle and trigonometry, all the things that you need to know to be successful in AP Calculus. I appreciate you watching. If you did find some value in this, please hit the like button for this video, and feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you'll get notified when I've got these future live streams coming about on Sundays. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. I'll see you next time. Bye.